Tonight, a dictatorship? A power grab? Former Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich says President Obama is making the biggest power grab in American history and moving America towards a dictatorship. And he's here. Join us live as former Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich. Good evening, Mr. Speaker. And a power grab? Is President Obama doing a massive power grab?
Well, sure, they're doing a power grab in virtually every way. My specific reference was to dictatorial powers that I thought that Secretary of the Treasury Geithner was asking for, where he would decide what companies to take over. He would decide under what circumstances. And let me tell you, the American system was not built for one bureaucrat to decide whether or not they could take your property. But take a look, Greta, a couple other things. When the House last week passed a bill that said they could go back and take 90% of the money from the people at AIG, everybody was happy with that for a second. But wait a second. What if, in fact, then that means Congress can take 90% of your money? And if they can take one group's money, they can take another group's money. And they can do it after the fact. And by the way, those bonuses had been approved by Congress in the stimulus package they voted for. So the hypocrisy and the, I think, danger is very real. And then look at what they're trying to do on the budget, where they're trying to ram through a resolution to break the rules of the Senate, to be able to get through both an energy tax increase and a massive change in our health system on 51 votes, which is clearly a power grab of unprecedented proportions. I think dictatorial is a strong word, but it may frighteningly be the right word.
All right, and just as a tease to the viewers, in the next segment, we're going to explain where you are. We're going to have another special guest join you, but we're not going to do that right now. All right, let's go back to this whole business of power grab dictatorial. I did a little research, and I've got a strange bedfellow for you.
I just have to say, I just watched Greta Wire Live about Deb's daughter's wedding, and I can't believe the range of things you're into right now. But go ahead, I'll try to stay with you.
And that's a tease to the viewers to watch Greta Livewire, because there's a wedding that's going on tomorrow that we've been waiting for 3 years, and it may come across as being way too normal. We've expected the very bizarre, and we may be disappointed. Anyway, I've got a very strange bedfellow for you, and that is Senator Robert Byrd, is a Democratic U.S. Senator. He wrote on February 23rd a letter to the president complaining essentially of a power grab. He's complaining that by naming health czars or urban affairs policy experts or energy experts at the White House, that what he was trying to do is grab power from the U.S. Senate. So it's not just the former Republican speaker that's got some sort of rub about a power grab. You've got a strange bedfellow here, the Democratic senator from the state of West Virginia.
Well, you know, Senator Byrd is an extraordinary expert on the history of the Senate, has actually written several books about the history of the Senate, and he's aware of the fact that the Senate is supposed to protect freedom. And what the president's doing is, in every way possible, he's trying to get around the law and get around the rules by centralizing power without being accountable to anybody. It started in some ways with the stimulus package, which we now know was passed, $787 billion, 1,100 pages. Nobody read it. When it turned out, embarrassingly for the Congress, that it had a provision in there that approved AIG giving out bonuses, the chairman of the Senate Finance Committee, Max Baucus, said, gosh, he didn't realize it was in there because they rushed it through. Then it turned out that Senator Chris Dodd, chairman of the Banking Committee, said, you know, he didn't really put it in there. It was put in there by the Treasury, which has to be, frankly, a lie, because the Treasury is not allowed to write legislation. Only the House and Senate can. But what you're seeing is a rush to try to radically change America before the American people have a say in it. And I think this budget, which is the next cycle, where, by the way, they're trying to hide trillions of dollars in debt by only giving you the first 5 years of the budget and not telling you about the second 5 years where the debt balloons. There's something just phony about this whole approach to trying to govern without being honest with the American people. And Senator Robert Byrd was right in his letter to the president.
All right, so the Congress really does have egg all over its face for not reading that bill that they voted, the stimulus with all the bonus and everything. They have egg all over their face. But for some reason, I find it hard to believe that the current Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, is going to cede any sort of authority to the President to let him do sort of a power grab, as you suspect, and even as Senator Byrd has suspected. I mean, she's not going to want to give up any of her turf. I mean, at least I wouldn't.
Look, first of all, Speaker Pelosi, who is the most left-wing member of the leadership, is having a great day. The powers that Senator Byrd's worried about are all in the Senate. It's the Senate which has the power of confirmation. The House doesn't. So she doesn't mind if that power is taken away from the Senate because it doesn't belong to the House. But look what she got away with in the stimulus package and in the appropriations bill. In both cases, a total, by the way, of almost $1.2 trillion. The entire bill was written in the House under what is in effect a dictatorship. And let me tell you, she's running the House right now like it's a dictatorship. Nobody gets to offer amendments. Nobody gets to dissent. Nobody gets to have any ideas unless they come from Speaker Pelosi and her cronies. And what's the result? She is the most powerful person in government today. President Obama is the second most powerful person in government today, and frankly the Senate is a distant third and doesn't matter very much because the Senate Democrats kept getting told by Harry Reid, you got to vote no matter how dumb it is, you got to vote to defeat every amendment so we can get these things passed exactly as Nancy Pelosi wrote it. I think Nancy Pelosi is clever. She's not going to complain because she's the big winner so far in taking control of what's happening to America.
All right, fast forward. Let's pretend we're talking 3 years from now. How is this going to play out, or how's it likely to play out?
Well, I think at the rate that the left-wing Democrats are alienating America with a big energy tax, with a war on churches and charities, with a big effort to raise taxes on every successful American, with an enormous increase in the federal debt, I think the odds are fairly good they're going to lose control of the House next year and lose a number of Senate seats. And I think by 2012, the country will be in a choice of socialism or free enterprise. Which kind of future do you want? And my hunch is the Democrats can't win a campaign that is open, above board, about whether you want cronies, politicians, and bureaucrats to run your life, or you want to have a choice as a citizen about what you do with your own money as a customer and not as a ward of the state.
All right, the tea parties that they're having around the nation, April 15, a number of states are going to have tea parties. That's just sort of a passing fancy, or is that a grassroots movement?
No, I think the Tax Day Tea Party movement, which is actually AmericanSolutions.com, is helping with a great deal. Over 300 cities have people signed up already. And I think these tea parties, remember, the House and the Senate will pass the first round of a really bad budget next week. They will then go home for 2 weeks. These tea parties come right in the middle of that congressional recess, and my challenge is to every member of the House and Senate, have the courage to go to a tea party in your state or your district and listen to your citizens. My prediction is there will be over 300,000 Americans at the tea parties, and I think it's the beginning of a huge movement of fundamental reform, not just for Washington, but for places like Albany, New York, Sacramento, California, Trenton, New Jersey, all the places where the lobbyists, the politicians, and the bureaucrats have been running over their citizens.
All right, Mexico, how serious a problem? I mean, we were just down in Mexico and we were immersed in it, and so, we may have the viewpoint that this is, much more serious than it is, but it certainly seems incredibly important to the American people.
Mexico is our most populous neighbor. It is extraordinarily important in America for Mexico to be prosperous under the rule of law and self-governing. There is an enormous war underway between the drug cartels, as you know from your trip, and the Mexican government. I was fascinated by Secretary Clinton's comments at two levels. First of all, we should control the border. We should cut off all the flow of guns into Mexico and all the flow of drugs into the United States. That would strip the cartel of their weapons and their money. So if we controlled the border, we would have an enormous step in the right direction to help the people of Mexico control their own lives. But in addition, I thought it was fascinating that Secretary Clinton admitted that our drug problem here in America, the drugs we buy that are illegal, are a major part of the problem, both in Mexico and, by the way, also in Afghanistan. And I'll be fascinated to see if Secretary Clinton is able to convince the Obama administration that we need a genuine anti-drug program in America that would truly be effective and that would break the back of the drug habit, which has been a growing problem for us for 40 years.
We only have about 40 seconds left, and then we got to go to break. But listening to you, I think that you admire Secretary Clinton.
I think Secretary Clinton is an intelligent, hardworking professional. I think that she is probably the best single choice that President Obama has made for the cabinet. And I think that what she's trying to do in Mexico, I thought was very courageous and very straightforward. Now, again, we have to see how it gets translated when you get back here. Are they really serious about controlling the border? That would be a big breakthrough. Are they really serious about controlling drugs? That would be amazing from a liberal Democratic administration. If she can pull off those two, then my hat's off to her.